Hey everybody, this video is for all parents, all teachers, and any tutors, because I understand just from listening to different people that this COVID season and learning how to be a teacher to your kids can be a big obstacle, especially when you got other things to juggle with, like a full-time job and errands and cooking and cleaning. I'm not a parent yet, but I can imagine that struggle must be real. But the reason I'm creating this video is because I want ADD. Okay, I don't know if you guys know, I have ADD. And I want ADD and other learning disabilities to be something to pay attention to, because it is very common and it's very easy to misdiagnose. That was one of my biggest obstacles through my whole entire school, elementary, junior high, high school, and even college. And I know we've probably heard some things about ADHD or ADD, and we may have an idea of what it is, but I just want to give you guys a little, my story, and what I went through, and just a little information and resources of what to do if you think your child has it. So, let me start with this. I'm going to say ADD, and just know that there's different types, forms, not one person who has ADD not one person has the same challenges as another person who has ADD. I'm not super hyperactive, but I definitely got some energy. So an ADD brain is always constantly occupied with eternal thoughts. It's hard for us to focus on one thing because different thoughts, different emotions are getting our attention, and not just on the person in front of us. Therefore, our attention can always seem divided. It may seem like we're not paying attention, but we really are trying our best to pay attention to what you're saying to us. Sorry, I'm about to get a little emotional right now. Another analogy is, okay, this is like what I thought of today. Another analogy of a person who has ADD is, imagine you're in school. It's a new topic that you're learning. And with this new topic, you hear 5 different songs playing, 5 different genres. It's going to be so hard to focus on this new topic and this teacher that we have in front of us if we have all this stuff going on in our minds. It's hard for us to focus on one thing. And that's one thing I hate when people say, well, you're a woman, shouldn't you be able to know how to multitask? Okay. Not everybody knows how to multitask, okay? Thanks. Let me get back to that analogy. So imagine someone in class, okay? We got 5 different songs going on. It's hard to focus. And it's a challenge. We can do it. We absolutely have the ability to focus, but it takes us a little longer, and it takes a lot more effort and different strategies of learning a new material or of listening to the person in front of us. So let me tell you a little bit about the challenge that I had in elementary. One, I always knew I had issues focusing and learning. Like, I remember the teacher would always call on me, and I would be like, oh my god, I hope they don't call on me because I have no idea what the heck they're talking about. Story of my life. But for some reason, ADD wasn't, I don't know if it wasn't a thing, it wasn't I mean, I'm sure it was a thing, but I didn't didn't get tested, didn't know about it, didn't know anything about it. But I knew I had some challenges. And, I tried hard, but I was always like that average student, like C's and C's. Like, I did okay. And I remember too, like, even in high school, like, I tried my best. I really did. And I just remember, like, one of my teachers, so I was in this college prep class. And I was so frustrated because I was failing. I think it was a biology class. I think it was sophomore year. And I just remember trying so hard to, like, do good on her test. And I was like, you know what? I'm too dumb for this. I'm just going to go ahead and drop out and do something easier. I'll do the standard biology class versus those who are trying to go to college, because I convinced myself I hated school. It wasn't for me. I honestly had an issue learning. So I realized, you know what? I'm not going to go to college. College ain't for me. College ain't for everybody, so I'll do something else. And so I remember telling the teacher to sign my paper because I wanted to drop out of the class. And I always remember her response. She's like, well, I'm sure you can't get A's on my test, but if you just tried a little harder, you would do better. You know what? I want to go back and tell that lady, well, maybe if you tried hard to be a better teacher, learn a little bit about what ADD is and other learning disabilities, and maybe you would be able to teach me, okay? And then I had another teacher. Well, let me rewind. Finished high school, did average, never failed a class because, my family was kind of on me with that, so I knew I always passed my classes. And then I decided to go to college, and man, that was a big challenge. But the minute I turned 18, I had someone talk to me about college, and like I became like the biggest schoolgirl after age 18, because I knew what I wanted, and I had the determination and the motivation to kick butt in school. But it was a big challenge, okay? I just remember, like, my first semester, it was awful. It really, really was. I was managed to get the right help and the right resources, which I'll discuss later in this video. But I had the right resources that really, that finally diagnosed me that I did have ADD. And they gave me resources of how to overcome this. But I got really, like, depressed with this disability. And yes, ADD is considered a disability. So I remember my first year transferring to a Cal State. I just remember I poured my blood, tears, and sweat into school. I had tutoring. I had people that tried to help me in the class, and I just wasn't making it. And I think I got really, 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 that was like my first time getting really depressed. It's because it's like I had a certain goal in mind, and I didn't have the grades that were going to get me there. So I originally wanted to do my DPT program. But I wasn't getting my A's and B's. In order to get accepted into a DPT program, you gotta get your A's and B's in your science classes. And I remember, I think it was physics. Yeah, it was definitely physics. I remember now. It was physics. I tried so hard. I tried so darn hard. And I was not doing good on his exams. And I just remember telling myself, you know what? Forget PT school. PT school ain't for me. College ain't for me. But I still continued my college. I just changed my my career plans. Wait, let me go rewind. Before I decided to drop out, it was because this one teacher. I shouldn't have let a one teacher ruin my plans, but I did. But it's okay. God is so good, and I'm happy where I'm at. But listen, I went to this teacher's office because they say the teacher's hours are from between this time and this time, and they'll help you with whatever you need help with. Well, you know what? I was a schoolgirl, and I really wanted to pass his exams. So I still remember. I went into his office hours, and I was asking for help on one of the homework problems. And can you believe this is his response? He's like, no, I'm not going to help you with that. That is something that you already should know how to do. And I just remember leaving his office so emotional, so sad. I was already depressed because I was doing really bad in school. I mean, I wasn't doing terrible. I was doing average, okay? To get accepted to my program that I want to do, you can't be average. And I just remember just feeling so hopeless. It's like I put everything I had into this schoolwork. And these are the type of teachers that I have. And he wasn't the only teacher at that Cal State. I had another one. It's like they were so old-fashioned in the way they taught. They were actual doctors. They always put I can't stereotype and say all doctors are like that, but this was a professor who happens to be a doctor. And I feel like there's so many people like that don't understand that there's different type of learning. Their teaching was horrible. It was boring. It was all over the place. Definitely was not for me. But, praise God that he continued to help me finish my program. I got off course for a little bit, did some other career plans, and then I ended up going to PTA school. It was not exactly what I originally planned for, but I'm definitely happy where I am. So let me get back to you. So the reason why I'm sharing this video is because I want to remind parents, I want to remind teachers that ADD is a disability. And especially with all this homeschooling that you have to do for your own kids because of this whole coronavirus, and these kids can't be at school, so you're becoming the teacher now. Like, I want to remind you that there are different ways of learning. I didn't find out about this until college. There's visual way of learning. There's auditory. Some people learn auditory. Some people learn by reading and writing. Some people learn by kinesthetic. And some people are even a combination. I did not learn how to study until I was age 24 from amazing friends that I learned from my PTA program at Carrington College in Vegas. That's where I went. That's where I did my PTA program. It was a private school. It was expensive. I'm not gonna lie, but it was so worth it. Like, they were very accommodating for my challenge with ADD. I had great friends in that class that really took time to teach me of different ways to study. Teachers don't teach us this. Teachers don't, they don't make the time to give you a test. Oh, what's your learning? What's your way of learning? Let's go ahead and let me teach you that way. Teachers are not going to do that. They don't have the time for that, okay? So, as a parent, as a teacher, please be aware. Tell your kids, tell your students, find out their learning strategy, find out their way of learning. And one thing I want you guys to know, this is one thing that I'm a little upset about. Okay. So the reason I learned that I had a disability is because I had this free resources on campus. My sister had recommended me to them, and it was free to me, but I know it was still being paid for through another means. So that program was free, and I had just learned a couple months ago that our president cut out the budget for learning disability resources at schools. So unfortunately, if you want to get tested, you're probably not going to because of these budget cuts that we got going on at school. So when I called the school, they're like, this was for a certain person that I know that thinks that she might have a disability. So I called her school and I talked to the disability office, and they had told me with all these budget cuts, she's probably going to be waiting on the list for probably another year. I'm like, great. But she did tell me that if you go through, I think if you go through a psychiatrist, you can do this assessment or these tests to find out what's going on with you, whether you have a learning disability or whether you have ADD. So testing is done through a psychiatrist. So you may not be able to get the free resource from school, and it's expensive. I asked how much it's gonna cost to go get this testing done. It's almost $2,000 at least. It's pricey, but your child is worth it. Okay? I wish I would have got this done a long time ago. I didn't get this done until my 20s, okay? I could have done so much better in school when I was a kid. And another thing I want to remind you guys, if your child does have ADD, I know a lot of these psychiatrists like to prescribe meds because that's what mine did to me. And I remember them telling me every time I went into her office, she'd always prescribe me more and more and more meds. Oh, it's not working. Let's give you another one. Let's bump up those milligrams. Oh, that one's not working anymore. Your body got used to it. Okay, let's give you another one and another one. Okay, let's bump up the milligrams. Okay. Thank God I finally ended those meds because I'm a big believer. If you take care of yourself, you don't need medication. Medication's not for everybody. It wasn't for me. It was messing me up emotionally. Anyways, just a reminder, meds can be great, but it doesn't teach you life skills. It doesn't teach you how to overcome your disability. It doesn't teach you how to overcome any obstacles for a person who has ADD. It's a temporary solution. So please be aware before you give your child these meds. Thank you. I'm not done. Let me keep going. Let's see. Oh, one of the biggest blessings that I had in college is I had no idea that an ADD coach even existed. So one of my counselors at CSULB, he recommended me to his wife, who happens to be an ADD coach. I'm like, wow, that actually exists, huh? And she taught me a bunch of skills that I still use today. Just a bunch of life skills, and I'd go to her office and I would tell her what what kind of challenges I'm having, and she would always find creative ways to help me overcome it. It was such a blessing. So there is something that exists called an ADD coach. Type it, Google it, you'll find some. I was blessed that I didn't have to pay for a thing because the school paid for it. But with all these budget cuts from our president, that may not be an option anymore. But you can, it doesn't hurt to find out. You never know. They might have it at school. But if not, type it in Google. You'll find one. They are pricey. I did my research the other day because I was just curious about how much one costs. They're pricey, but I promise they will teach your child so many life skills. They will teach them about learning. They will teach them and help them overcome anything, and they're going to teach them skills that they're going to be using years from now. Because, I mean, that was, what year was that? 2013? 2014? I still use a lot of their skills that she taught me. AED coach, I wish I knew more about this when I was younger. They are amazing. Google them, look for them, invest in them. So I kind of talked about in the video a little bit about my challenges and stuff, and just like school was just, it was like so depressing. It really was, because just the fact that you're putting everything in and you're trying so hard, but you're just not doing it. You're not able to learn like the other kids in your class. You're not able to excel like the other kids in your class. You know, one thing that kind of gets me upset, I hate when I hear people say, oh yeah, I think we all kind of have a little bit of ADD in us. You don't know what you're talking about, okay? No, not everybody has it, okay? And I just want to like say, it was through my depression in college. There was other reasons why I was depressed, but this was like my main reason, just to have like all my dreams go down the drain, because I didn't know how to overcome this disability that I had when it came to learning. And another pet peeve that I have is when people tell me, are you not paying attention to me? Are you not listening? I have to tell you this over and over again. Dude, I try so hard to listen to you, okay? I'm trying. So don't tell me that I need to try harder to listen, okay? I'm trying my best. So if you took the time to learn a little bit more about what ADD is, maybe you would have a little empathy for me, people like us, okay? You know, I hated the fact. I'm like, God, why the heck did you give me ADD? Come on, God, like, what the heck? Like, life could be so much easier if I didn't have this disability. And like, I started to realize and learn it gave me a lot of empathy for kids who have disability or any learning challenges, because I love you, my brothers and sisters, but I envy you guys. You little honor students, little straight A students. I envy you on the down low. It really irritates me when I have those friends in class and they get the highest grade in the class with barely studying. That was never me. Never, ever, ever me. I had to study twice or maybe even 3 times longer than the average student. And it was something that I hated that time in college. I didn't get to enjoy college that much because I was just so burdened with the challenges that I had in school and life and in my education. But thank God, you know, He helped me through it. It was actually God. It's actually in college when I got depressed is when I met God. And He really helped me through this. He helped me realize, you know, I am His child. He created me for a purpose. He created me just the way I am, for a greater purpose. You know, I am His child. I am His masterpiece in His eyes. And I thank God. I thank my parents. I thank my auntie, who have always, I mean, they may not have always been there, but they were patient with me and let me focus on my school, and were really big resources that helped me be where I am today. If it wasn't for them, I would definitely, I don't know where I would be. Anyways, one thing I want you to know, ADD can be a gift depending on how you look at it. They say the world would be boring without people with ADD because we're very energetic, we're creative, we're inventive. Albert Einstein had ADD, so it can be a gift if you learn how to overcome the obstacles and if you learn to accept it and to embrace it. So, if you think your child or anyone around you has a learning disability or ADD, please, please, please get them the help, invest in their future, because I wish that I would have been diagnosed at a younger age. Get them tested, find out how your kids or students learn, or anyone you know in school, because the children of right now is our future. Invest in them. Like I said, I wish I was diagnosed earlier because I thought I was dumb and incapable. And years later in college, it finally made sense when I learned about ADD. Finally made sense. I know this was a long video. I was not planning to talk for 26 minutes, but with this whole homeschooling thing with Corona, like, this learning disability can be easily brushed off, and you may be very frustrated with whoever you're trying to teach. Be patient with your kids, be patient with your students, spread the awareness, and please learn a little bit more about ADD and how about those around you who you love. Thanks, y'all. Have a great Sunday. Bye.